Let's talk Wanya Morris
Okay.
because he was out of OU. The 49ers met with him. Fun prospect. I've seen him everywhere. I've seen people have him fourth round grade, third round grade. I've seen him going late day three. He's all over the place. 6'4", 307 out of OU. I feel like I've landed a little bit in the middle. I have a fifth round grade on him. He's my offensive tackle number 13. Now you tell me what, because you're higher on him. Tell me
Yeah, I
why
had
you
like
liked
a
him.
so I had like a third, fourth round grade. And again, you probably know him more than I do, especially because he plays against your team pretty often. And I think I watched like 2 games of him, so it could just be that I watched the 2 good games or
Mhm.
above average games, whereas you've seen a whole lot more. You said he's kind of hot and cold. What I saw was good athleticism. He's got the length. I mean, he's 6'5" with 35-inch arms, so plenty of length. I think it's not everything, but it helps a lot. He was a plus run blocker. He liked to dominate people in the run game. He gets down fields fast. He had a decent kick step, not the best, but good movement skills and usually pretty good balance. And he played right tackle, so yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of fit with him. He was OU has put out some of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, good lord, Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, Creed Humphrey. You can go on and on and on. This coaching staff, the previous, whatever else. Like it has been a factory. Wanya Morris was supposed to be part of that factory, and I felt like he never hit the ceiling that they wanted him to hit. He was a big time guy. Now, how do you balance that? He is a very
Well, you
I don't
tell me
know.
if you have a guy who has, half the year, he has really good tape and he has the athletic traits that you're looking for. How do you kind of balance that? Because to me, I'm like, hey, he might not be able traits wise, and on the good games, he looks like he could pretty much be a plug and play right tackle. But if he's inconsistent, is that something where you're like, hey, spend a late third round pick on a guy who could do it and just see if you can coach him up to do it over the next 4 years during his rookie contract? 'Cause that's my thought process with the value there. Because it's also a valuable pick at a position where we need depth.
Right. And I think, yeah, the value in the position is perfect. The scheme fit, it's perfect. And again, Niners met with this cat, right? So like this is something that they're seeing. He's going to be around in that area. Is that going to work out for them or not? Because I, I, I don't know. If they took him in the third round, I wouldn't be upset. If they took him in the fourth round, I'd be like, okay, I understand. There's just guys that I like that are more consistent, I would say. And so
Are you
that's why I'm like,
thinking okay. Well, if there's other guys that you like, do you wanna compare him to, like, say, Braden Daniels or Nick Salvadori? Because those are 2 other guys that I like that are projected lower.
exactly. And it's funny because you say projected lower. I have both ranked ahead of Wanya Morris. I have both of them.
Okay.
And
I'm just
so
pulling my
I've
notes up.
got a fourth round on both Jalen Duncan and Nick Salvaderi. So Jalen
Oh,
Duncan,
I
he's
said
out of,
Braden Daniels.
oh, sorry, Braden Daniels. I'm higher
I
on
like
him as
Jalen
well.
Duncan too.
I'm highest on Braden, out of all these names we've mentioned,
I had a
but
4th.
I got a third, but I think guard's his best spot. So he kind of is one of those guys that's a guard slash tackle that the Niners just can't help themselves with. Jalen Moore, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford. They love these guys. They don't go after pure tackles.
Yeah.
Will that change? Will that change this year?
So, what's your opinion on difference between Salvaderi and Braden Daniels? Because to me, Braden Daniels looked more like a natural. He looked like a natural tackle just in terms of like his kick step. Like the very first rep I watched of Braden Daniels, it was like the most beautiful kick step I've ever seen. And then it was a little bit inconsistent, and I felt like he struggled with speed to power, and his worst thing was like anchoring, but he looked so natural. Whereas Salvaderi, he just kind of looked solid all around with quick hands and good grip strength.
I think a lot of it has to do with kind of the arm length and height. Salvadori, he's taller, he's 6'6".
Yep.
He's got the, his arm length. Both their arms
It
are
was
kind of
like
short. They're 33.
33, I think.
And so
33 is
like
kinda like borderline.
I don't know. And a part of it is, man, watching Old Dominion tape was interesting, um, to say the least, because it was
I don't
very
even know where
clear.
that is.
Yeah, they have 2 draftable players, and they're both huge. You got Nick Salvadori, who's 6'6", and then you had Zach Kuntz, who's 6'7", tight end running around. And so, like, a lot of times when you watch tape, it's like, okay, which guy am I watching? I got to figure out. No, you turn on the tape and you're like, oh, it's those 2. It's those 2 giants on this, poor team. But man,
So let
whenever
me
I
ask
watch,
you, say that we're there and it's like the 5th round pick comes up because we got a few fifths. You've got Wanya Morris, Braden Daniels, and Salvaderi all sitting there. Which one would you pick to be a potential right tackle and why?
man, I would take, I think I would take Braden.
Okay.
Braden Daniels. I think he's the better player. I have a full round grade ahead. If I just want a right tackle, I think the highest upside is Jalen Duncan out of Maryland. Um, but
I did
again,
like his.
the better player that could be a right tackle, could fail inside, move Spencer Burford back outside. Braden Daniels would be my guy out of Utah. I really, really do like him.
Dude, he
Um,
fired out of his stance on run blocking, like,
yeah, he's
that
fun,
popped.
man.
It was
He's
just like,
fun.
boom.
And again, these guys are all over the place. And so, like, you could turn on draft podcasts, which I do. I listen to them all the time. I freaking love them. I
Oh,
watch
yeah.
tape nonstop. These are guys that are all over the board because most of those draft shows, they just talk about first and second round guys, which I understand. That's what gets it clicks. I get it. We're doing this from a Niners focus. And we're trying our hardest to create these conversations that are taking place in the Niners war room. These are conversations. O-line coaches, scouts, GM, personnel guys. They're sitting there saying, okay, we got to get a tackle. There's no doubt about, you look at who the Niners have met with. They met with tackles. They're getting a tackle.
They met
These are
with
the conversations
tackles.
they're going to have.
They met with a lot of offensive tackles, safeties, tight ends, and defensive ends. Like that's who they've had the most meets with. So you can kind of see where they're leaning for those higher picks.
Yeah. What's up, Niner Sickness podcast? I freaking love it.
Yep.
And again,
Yeah, I think, and like you were saying, with us not really talking about first, second rounders, I don't even. I think I maybe looked at like 2 or 3 like projected guys to go in the second round, and it's like if they drop. Um, but I did over 100 write ups, and they pretty much start around like consensus number 80.
yeah, Tobias says, what grades do we have on Nick Saldiveri? I have a fourth round grade on him, which I
I had
feel
a
like I'm
late
higher.
fourth. I
Yeah.
had a late fourth. I like
Now,
him.
the question becomes like, okay, everybody wants to talk about Cody Mock. I've got him 44th overall. Like
Yeah,
we're picking 99th. like
he's
like
not going to be there.
he's not going to be there. Blake Freeland, I've got 53rd. Like
He
these,
might be there, but I doubt it. I did
because
watch
I don't
him.
think power gap teams will have him on their board. They'll throw his name, literally say he is an undraftable player for us because he
Yeah.
does not fit our scheme. He doesn't fit everybody's scheme. Um, So, yeah, he could be there, but we're trying our hardest to give you names of actual 49ers fits. And this is where Brian, what's up, Trainwreck? He says, don't forget Tyler Steen. Right before we went live, Brian, you said, and I quote, I don't see what you see in Tyler Steen. Is that a correct assessment?
I didn't say that. What I said was that I'm not as high on him as you are because
You politician. Let's argue.
I mean, I disagree because I think you had like a third round grade
I
on him.
do.
And for me, I said what I saw pretty much everything that you saw. My biggest concern was that when I flipped on the tape, I noticed, like visibly noticed, that his short arms, his length was showing up on tape. Guys were getting into his chest. And if that happens at the college level, it's going to happen at the NFL level. Everything else looked pretty good, but to me, that means he's a guard in the NFL. And if he's a guard, I don't want to spend a third round pick on him. So I said, hey, fourth, fifth round pick. He's
Yeah.
good, but I'm not going to have a third round grade on a guard if that's what I think he is. I just don't think he'll be successful at tackle. Um, don't get me wrong, like he's good. I'm not going to have that high of a grade on a guy who I think is a guard because
Right.
his length it showed on film.
He's
And
6'6",
sometimes
321, but he's got short arms.
yeah, and sometimes you see like measurables and they don't show up on tape. But if they're obvious on tape, then I have to factor that in. So I do
Correct.
like him, but I just think he's only a guard, so I have him as like a fourth to fifth.
Yeah, and, like, I get that. His arm usage is a problem. I think the athleticism and size
Yep,
is something that, a 6'6", 321 guy, there's not a lot of those type of tackles that move the way he does. You look at his 20-yard shuttle, top 80%. Broad jump, top 80%. The dude is explosive.
yep,
And bench press, he had 31 reps, which is 90th percentile in the NFL for
yep.
tackles. Like, he is strong. He is athletic. I think he fits. And so, again, I got a late third on him, which is where the Niners are picking. And you're talking about a need situation, offensive tackle. You're talking about kind of a match and scheme setting. I think it could work. And again, we keep seeing the Niners go after these guys that have played tackle that could fit at guard, but they can put them out there. Daniel Brunskill,
I
Colton
want a
McKivitz.
real tackle. I'm
Yeah.
tired of all these short arm tackles that can't really play tackle. So you kick him into guard because now it's like we have Trent Williams, and then we've got like a half dozen guys competing for right tackle because they're all guards.
Yeah.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.